Good evening, friends, and welcome to another episode of Tim Kirby Rush, where I, Tim Kirby, an American who's worked in the media in Russia for over a decade, tell you what the world looks through a Russian lens as we approach the critical U.S. elections, which may actually not be critical at all, depending on who you ask. We are seeing that Zelensky is making moves with his big peace plan. The incursion in Kursk is starting to kind of get squeezed shut. So I thought we should take some time to talk about basically the war in Ukraine, and then we'll take completely random questions from the audience that have to deal with Russia. I asked today earlier what I could talk about on some live streams, and all of the questions that I got were really bad live stream questions. Not that they were bad, but they're bad live stream questions. As in, the answer is sort of like 3 sentences, and that's it. That's not good for live streams. You need something that's more open-ended or philosophical. But anyways, as you can see behind me, and as I think I maybe shouldn't have done it quite like this. Maybe I should move my big fat head to the other side. Hold on. Let's see if I can do that. Okay. No. That stays. That's the screen capture. The video captures this. That's me. So the screen stays. Why did it do that? I don't know. Weird system, guys. Weird system. Anyways, let's move me a little bit over here. But, yeah. So anyways, as you can see on your screens there, this is sort of what the battle map of Ukraine looks like as Zelensky goes into his big peace plan and all this stuff. The major news that I heard today was that around Kherson, which is here down in the south. I wonder if I can increase this. Nope, not that way. Can I increase it this way? Oh my gosh. It's bigger at 125% than it is at 150%. Interesting. But anyways, as you see down here by Kherson, the Kherson region, which if you look at the very light shaded light pink areas are locations that Russia believes belongs to them already because they are part of the original borders of these new regions that became part of the Russian Federation. So as you can see, there's not a whole bunch of this light pink left. And the Russians have, for some reason, started to attack around the river and try to maybe push more towards Kherson, which is kind of surprising, but then again, maybe not surprising. On the one hand, whenever you're dealing with a major river like the Dnieper, it is a pain to go from one side to the other. The Kiev forces should know that. They have tried to cross that river many, many times and not very effectively. But what could be happening is that what I think is if there's an attack happening here, I think the one thing, the logic of it could be that if the attacks going towards, Kursk, which is right here, have apparently really stretched the Kiev's lines thin, so they have the line here stretching out the Donbass. Perhaps this is, like I mentioned many, many, many videos ago, how this is kind of like an MMA fight, where the one guy's kind of down and he's dazed, and you'll see the one guy then, he has his guard up, but then the other guy's going to just start wailing on the parts of his body that are exposed because he can't just lay there and cover his whole body with his arms. You know what I mean? They're going to find a way around the block to the head, to the gut. Even if it depends on the rules of the MMA fight, someone might whoop some other guy's legs if they're exposed. You know what I mean? Getting punched really hard in the knee is not a good feeling, or the shin. Yikes. But anyways, that's probably what the Russians are doing, and it's within reason to, again, expect that maybe there's going to be even more activity down in the Kherson region because it stretches the whole more than 1,000-kilometer line even thinner. And Putin was quoted as saying that Odessa, which is this little area over here, is a Russian city. Whether you believe that or not is up to you. But the one thing I can tell you is that the Russian military is still stationed in Transnistria. The sort of the technically last part of the Soviet Union that still considers itself the Soviet Union, which is on the eastern part of Moldova, right on the Dniester River. So at some point in the future, Russia is going to have to make contact with this area because I'm actually kind of surprised the Moldovan card hasn't been played. As we've talked about on this channel many times, I believe that all eyes should be on Moldova because that's probably really where the next front in this war would, in theory, start, with the exception of the fact that the Moldovans themselves are pretty chill and they don't have the let's just say they don't have the same history and interpretation of World War II as the people in Lvov do, but nonetheless, their president, Maya Sandu, is 100% globalist. She is 100% down to destroy her own population like Zelensky is. So I'm kind of surprised that it hasn't gone through. Maybe there's a lot more behind the scenes political will not to fight in Moldova than might be perceived. But anyways, so far Moldova has remained neutral, but at some point Russia is going to basically have to make contact with Transnistria, or there will be another conflict, whether it be 5 years from now or 10 years from now, with NATO, probably about that particular location. So, yeah, that's we could probably see coming. And again, the more sort of middle of the fight continues. The Russians slowly push forward, and there is not too much left of the sort of Kursk, Belgorod location. All these little dots and stuff are actually strikes. They're not really positioning. So the strikes here might make it look as though Kiev's forces are deep into Russia when they're really not. Another thing that also happened recently is that they were almost able to hit the Kursk nuclear power plant via large drone, but the drone got taken out. So that's, guys, kind of our big war update here. There's activity in the south that most people weren't expecting, and that is probably going to continue on. But the one thing I also would want to say about Zelensky's peace plan that's kind of interesting is I was listening to someone else's analysis. This isn't my original idea, but he had a really good point that with the Zelensky peace plan, it almost sounds like the Zelensky peace plan is now to go into like full, Afghanistan, Vietnam mode and try to just focus on kind of trying to grind down Russia and maintaining a full defense and grind down Russia. So that way Russia will lose the political will to fight on, which will force negotiations, because paradoxically, Zelensky says that there's going to be no negotiations, but then he wants the war to end diplomatically. And the person who had these opinions that I was listening to, he said that was a paradox, and I don't think it is. It isn't a paradox. If you want the war to go to a stalemate and sort of get set up like a Korean War situation, then that's a diplomatic sort of solution that kind of really didn't involve a lot of negotiation. It kind of just involved drawing the new line where the armies were, or where they started, also the 38th parallel. Let's just say maybe it's not a negotiation-free settlement, but it's a negotiation-low settlement. And I think that could be the current plan. But one of the problems is to be honest, that kind of plan is the kind of plan you do before you've had your three major armies be completely destroyed, to what extent are they going to be able to foster some type of that kind of resistance? I don't know. Because, well, what did the Vietnamese have? What was their advantage? They were fighting an army that had mid-20th century technology. Top tier mid-20th century technology. But, they weren't exactly using satellites. They weren't exactly with mega super cheap infrared, ultraviolet, whatever, heat scanning. Like, if the United States had to, God forbid, do that kind of war again, I think a lot of technology could be used to sort of expose more so where a lot of the Viet Cong were moving and hiding. But with the technology of the time, they were just sort of appearing and disappearing, or not even appearing. You were already dead by the time they appeared. And with Afghanistan, even though there was much better technology, and you'd think they'd be able to kind of maybe track better where the forces are going, they did a good job of sort of bleeding. A lot of them bled. Blending into like the local population, or not being clear who's a target, who isn't. But anyways, they were sort of defended by the mountains. So the Vietnamese had the jungle, and the Afghanis had the mountains. Well, what do the Ukrainians have? Nothing. Open space. One of the reasons Ukraine is a pretty brutal war, is because it is really set up to be like some kind of World War One open field battle. So I don't quite understand how in this 21st century conflict, where the geography does not lend itself to some sort of resistance to grind down the invading, in quotes, force, I don't see how that's going to work out. I don't think that that's, especially like I said, with an army that's already, well, I should say, armed forces that have already been really, really thrashed around for 2 years. I don't know. I'm a little bit suspicious of that. But anyways, guys, I'm going to answer then some questions. Maybe you guys wants to call in and talk. We could talk about the war. But as is tradition on this program, whatever, we can go completely off topic. And a lot of the questions I got about the live stream today that were super short are extremely super off topic. Here's one. I have a controversial topic for the stream. I hear many Russians complain about Ukrainians coming here. Coming here? Where is here? Here and qualifying for a free apartment, but residents of Kursk only got 10,000 rubles. Who's telling you this, Ben? Because I have never, ever heard of a program that gives away like free apartments to new citizens. I mean, you can get free land as a Russian citizen, and they kind of have to help you constitutionally if you're a citizen find a place to live. But where are these new apartments? Which ones? Then what cities? What are you talking about? So I don't know. Supposedly they get a certificate that can be used as a payment for an apartment. Interesting. Are there any photographs of these certificates? How does that work? Because I've never seen such a thing. Like, usually when there's a government program, I mean, there's going to be a lot of paperwork involved in this transaction. There is just no certificate that you print out. Like in the 90s, there was this thing called MMM, which was like, we can do a lot, I think is what it would be translated to in English. And if you don't like the translation, get bent. I'm sick of bullshit from Russian people criticizing me on that. But anyways, there was this guy, Mr. Mavrodi, and he created this sort of thing where you'd like buy vouchers, and it was kind of like, or was a pyramid scheme, depending on who you ask, and you buy these vouchers from someone, and what you're kind of describing is like the sort of voucher system, and Russia sort of, the government here is a lot more thorough than that. They're a lot more bureaucratic than that. They're just having a voucher that says good for one apartment. Like, that's insane. That just doesn't make sense. He says something like the motherhood capital. So what is motherhood capital? Okay, that is when the more kids you have, then you are basically reimbursed for the purchase of real estate for the children. And this purchase has a lot of restrictions on it, because if you're doing it for the sake of your family, they don't want you to sell it out from under your kids. So your kids, all the children, have a lot of claims to this particular piece of real estate, and it's very hard to sell. And the more kids you have, the better the reimbursement is. But guys, it's a reimbursement. So, and it's also depending on what sort of, area of Russia you're in. If you're in Moscow, it's not going to cover the full cost of the apartment. It just isn't. Okay? So things don't really work that way. It'll cover part of it, but you still have to essentially buy it with, a mortgage. When the mortgages in Russia absolutely cannot be acquired, except for one program, which I think has gone extinct, without a down payment. And the down payment is going to be from 10 to 20%. So, if what you're saying is it's like the motherhood capital, then these people need to put down 10 to 20%, take out a full mortgage, and then they get reimbursed some amount of money. So how many people who are refugees from Ukraine have, 8 million rubles just laying around to buy an apartment around Kursk or some shit like that? There you go. So, yeah. Anyways, I think Ben, I thank you for being a part of this channel. But you know, Ben, I do the one thing. Whenever you comment, uh, you have a very negative view of everything in life. And that's okay. You're free to have that view, and we need pessimists because optimists tend to get run over in life. But man, dude, if you're gonna believe every negative rumor about Russia, I don't know how you can live here because it's there's a lot of them. And one thing, like I tell people a lot, is don't listen too much to what Russians tell you about life in Russia because they don't tell you the truth. They kind of tell you about how the world works, maybe kind of like the way my one grandmother did. You know, God rest her soul, good woman who took care of me when I was a kid, but she filled me full of all sorts of questionable interpretations of the way that human beings function and the way society functions and how to be successful in life. You know, Granny's view of the right methodology doesn't match up with the way the world works. And if you're getting a lot of information from random Russian people, and especially the weird kind of Russian people who are obsessed with foreigners, their information is hot garbage. Absolute hot garbage, in my opinion. Well, here we're already going a little bit from the opinion realm to the fact realm, but anyways, so you'll hear a lot of negative stuff from Russians, especially my favorite, just as an example of what I'm talking about, is if you are one of these people who goes to all the different groups on Telegram or VK or OK across Russia to find people and sort of peruse Russia because you're interested in moving here or you're just interested in it, you know, like a lot of the people you're going to meet who are the Russians who sit in these groups, they are going to tell you, I just come to the country, all you have to do is slip a bribe of $5,000 and you can get citizenship. People do it all the time, it's no problem. Full of shit. Full of shit to the brim. So, anyways, there are a lot of interesting topics here in these comments, so I'm going to go and I'm going to try to put some on. Let's see. I'm going to stop. Am I still screen sharing? Why am I doing that? Stop. Okay. That's much better. Now I can make this screen a little brighter, and I can move this over here, and that is amazing. Now it's much easier. So we had interesting questions. Do you have a driver's license? Justin asks. If so, what class and how did you acquire it? I had a normal average driver's license from Ohio. I do not have a Russian driver's license because I do not have the time or the willpower to deal with even more bureaucracy and try to get the license here. So I have not done it, and ever since the war started, I can't drive on an American license, and I can't get a new Ohio license sent here from America anyways, so I've just kind of given up, and I'm not going to plan on driving unless I can organize somehow to try to get a driver's license as some kind of like media thing or some kind of like advertising deal, because I got one thing where I got screwed over as I got involved in a corrupt driving school, and I invested a lot of time and a lot of money and I got nothing. So yeah, so don't drive as of now. I mean, Jeremy Wood, does Russia have 100% online bachelor's degree programs like the US does? Not that I've seen. Maybe there is somewhere, but not that I've seen. The best I've seen is kind of like a half and half sort of thing. So, let's see. Well, let's see. Someone says that'll be a 3-hour long video. Why would talking about a driver's license be a 3-hour long video? I just said it. It took like a minute. Let's see. Who is this person who's talking? What chance on the complexity? Even native Russians and police officers enforcing the laws have a hard time understanding. Yes, this is one thing. This is true. Is that the Russian test is specifically designed to make you fail it. So whereas the language tests that you have to take for citizenship are super easy and are almost designed for anyone to get through them. I mean, they're just idiotically simple. The driving tests in Russia are absolutely brutal. Everything has to be done to like millimeter pinpoint exact precision. every question. I believe you have to now. In the past, you used to be able to make, like, if there's 20 questions on the test, the written test, I think you could get 2 wrong. I think now you have to get all 20 or you fail. So there you go. Having an IPE, which means an individual entrepreneurship registered, you can easily change the tax type to it. I'm confused. People are kind of talking about taxes, but kind of not. Boy, people. I wish people would have. They started talking to each other rather than to me. That's bad. Anyways, Bakani is writing. Hi, Tim. Oh man, I want Russia to succeed mightily and be the hope of this present world. I just hate it when liberals and a bunch of childless nationalists talk smack about Putin and others. Thank you for the childless nationalist support. A lot of people who are nationalists are very dickless. And he mentioned the thing about Ramzan that I read earlier. Okay, that's fine. Something else. Hey, Tim, how are you doing today, man? I am fine. I'm always happy to do live streams. It's one of the easier things that I do. And I guess, Okay. That was it? I thought that, wait, that's because I put the thing about topics in 2 locations because people were not answering. Let's see. These constant, why does Putin endorse Kamala? We did a whole live stream about that. I hope I put it as an answer to your question. Topic, we must fix the media. Well, I'm in the Russian media. What needs to be fixed in the Russian media? That's kind of an interesting one about fixing the media. Maybe we'll get to that another day. I'll put it in my saved messages folder. That's interesting. Okay, but not today. That actually, see, that's a good live stream. It's more like it's not even really a question. It's more like a comment. But it's good because it's big and it's open-ended. So there we go. I like that. Man, why always this focus on Russia? Don't folks see what's really happening in our own backyard? The U.S., the wars. This is called Tim Kirby Russia, my friend. I am an American, but in a sense, I'm much like every other American. However, you don't get many foreign people who go deep inside the Russian media and do major Russian media projects. That's where my channel is unique. I could talk about America from the standpoint of being American, but there's 300 million people who could compete with me on that front. Lydia Stano, Israel attacked West Syria, probably the Russian base while U.S. backed. Yeah, they may have hit a Russian base, but Russia is kind of organizing everything that, not organizing, supporting a lot of things that Iran is doing, and Iran is supporting a lot of things against Israel. So now it's becoming quite the mess, but I am not a big expert on the Middle East, so I'm not sure. Anyways, Lydia continues, but Russia is still acting kind of neutral. Do they want to give up Latakia? No. The base in Syria, for reasons I don't quite understand, is for some reason some sort of ultra red line, unacceptable to be lost. I think because Russia has so few bases beyond its borders that the Syrian one is very important to them. Also, I think because Russia would lose complete access to, let's just say, the Middle East, potentially, without it. Live constitutional Putin. They say he came back, but everybody kind of. Okay, sorry. I'm sorry, Lydia. Could you maybe reformat your questions a little bit more questioning? How does this ambivalent approach towards Israel fit into the new multipolar world, which claims to be anti-racist and fair? Oh, though that's a good question. So that was one I can. Should I answer it today or should I? I guess I'll answer it today. So basically, one of the things is about the multipolar world and the BRICS and all that, is it is a world order that is supposed to be based overall on the concept of consensus. Okay? And part of consensus means, so we're going to take all the people who are voluntarily part of this multipolar world order, and we're going to get the general vibe of what's going on. We talked to all the big players who are like the BRICS, especially the core of BRICS. And is there political will within the BRICS to go all out and presumably launch atomic weapons against Israel? Or how else, because they are an atomic power. They have what supposedly something like 200 nuclear warheads. So it would be just like. So what are you saying, Lydia? That the BRICS nations just need to one day wake up and nuke a smaller country? And by the way, a country that's so small that those nukes, that's going to have a fun effect on people in the Sinai Peninsula and Jordan and Lebanon. The backlash from that, and also, if you think the people in Gaza are suffering now, breathing in nuclear ash is not going to help. So, unfortunately, Lydia, your response is very emotional, but I don't think that there's a consensus to end this in a radically violent way. I think the consensus is have proxies like the Houthis or Hamas or Hezbollah or some other groups kind of do the fighting and then support them, and there's no nuclear war, and Israel kind of lose anyways, so on and so forth. I think that's really where this is going. Elias, getting a Russian driver's license if your country isn't a signatory of the Vienna Convention. I'm from Canada, who signed the Geneva Convention. That's different, but not the Vienna. Yes. Do I have to take 60 hours of driving lessons, or can I take the test? From what I understand, you do. I've seen all sorts of differing reports. You may, with my experience with trying to do it, when I first tried to do it and got effed over, nope, you're screwed. You have to go back to square one. So that's one reason why someone might not want to get Russian citizenship, because if you're not a Russian citizen, generally they'll let you drive on a foreign license. So there you go. And it's debatable. I've heard different police say different things. Like, well, if you have a residency permit, you reside here, you should have a Russian driver's license. But for me, I have Russian citizenship, so I basically should have a Russian driver's license, but there's a good chance I'll never get one. So unless something changes, like I said, I could do some sort of project where I'd film it and turn it into fun content or something. Or I'll put it this way, if I can scare a certain division of the police into making sure the test is done fairly and scare the shit out of them with the right invisible hammer, then maybe I'll get it. Sergey, you see, the thing is, okay, that has nothing to do with anything. Someone said something, recommended doing something illegal. We're not going to read that. Do you have to gotta be a bot, accusing people of being bots. Okay. How old is Mr. Putin today? He's 72. So hopefully we'll find out who his successor is going to be. I really, really, really wish he would reveal who his successor is going to be, but I think he's scared of doing that. So, yeah. Oh, does someone want to call in? Someone does. Bogdan wants to call in. Sorry, Bogdan, for ignoring you. I did my monitors kind of backwards today, and so I'm all screwed up.
No problem. Question regarding the driving license. You can change actually your driver license, or you need actually to pass the exam again?
Russia is part of the Vienna Convention. The Vienna
so Romania also
is a very large group of countries that all use, in theory, the exact same driving rules. And if I remember correctly, you live in Romania, correct?
Actually in Germany, but I did the driving license in Romania.
Well, yeah. Well, both Germany and Romania, and I think the entirety of the EU, maybe I'm wrong.
No, I have a Luxembourgish one.
Okay, Luxembourg, whatever. I'm pretty sure the entirety of the EU is part of the Vienna Convention. I could be wrong, and there could be one weird country that isn't, but I'm pretty sure that they are. So you don't. You would, I believe you would either just have to do the driving part or like just exchange it.
Yeah, I think only the exchange, because when I moved to Luxembourg, I took my Romanian driver. Actually, I had another issue. My driver license was stolen. I took my driving license and I just exchanged it.
Well, then again, remember, man, that's
They
Luxembourg. Luxembourg is not the great land empire of Eurasia, but it has a very different
eh,
attitude towards letting
no,
people do stuff, and it really kind of doesn't want people driving. So,
Russia doesn't want people driving, or
because Russians are have a very devil may care attitude towards their own lives and the lives of other people, and the more people that
come on.
drive, the more stuff they have to build. So it just is like, whereas with the United States, they wanted, like, the major auto industries were like, drive, drive, drive. We have to restructure how we build everything in America so everyone drives, and so Ford and GM make money. That was sort of on that end. Whereas on Russia, it's like, we don't want to build new highways, but I don't want to build infrastructure for driving. Stop it. Stop driving. Ride a bus like in the Soviet Union so we don't have to do anything. You know?
Yeah, in the city, but if you want to go, because in the city, yeah, I prefer using the buses and everything.
Well, I'm just telling you
It's
how it
much
is,
more
man.
easy.
But I've also heard that it's much generally easier in a very extremely rural location where driving isn't really a
Okay,
problem to get a driver's license. Whereas in Moscow, they are looking for every teeny tiny
okay, okay.
mistake that you could possibly make to give you an F on, or in American parlance, to give you an F on the
To
test and
fail
make
you.
you do it again and again and again.
Okay, okay, I
I've generally
understand. I
heard that
understand.
most people I know who've done the test, let's say fully legitimately, it takes about 6 or 7 tries.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so it
Okay,
takes
that
years,
that's a
literally.
lot.
Mm. Yep.
I took my driver license from the first try.
Yep.
Okay,
I
thank
did
you.
too in the United States. So there you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of
Okay,
funny because I used
thanks.
to actually transport all sorts of like hazardous stuff, like fucking gas tanks and all this stuff in America, and I can't even drive here. So it's very frustrating, very insulting. If I ever get the chance to talk to Putin one on one, I'll ask him for a driver's license. But anyways, all right, man, I'm out.
Okay, thank you.
Later, later. Yeah. So the whole driver's license issue sucks ass. What are my current thoughts on the state of the CIS, the Commonwealth of Independent States of the former Soviet Union? It is sort of a nothing organization, as you can see. Like, there's no, it's a loose confederation, and that confederation only tends to get smaller with time. It's really not something to be brought up. And as oh my god, what analyst always says this? But if you look at it about, like, who is Russia really able to make substantial agreements with? China, North Korea, Iran, India. Okay? Those countries Russia can make some really good deals with. Syria, I would say too, but Syria doesn't really offer very much because it's in a perpetual state of war. So, you know, Serbia, you could probably make deals if it wasn't for the EU. But if you think about it, in a lot of ways, the former Soviet Union has been absolutely been polluted with Russophobes and people who will do anything behind the scenes to make sure that Russia doesn't create some sort of, like, how there's the union state between Belarus and Russia, where pretty much de facto it's almost like Belarus is kind of a cluster of, we're going to use American terminology. It's almost like Belarus is a cluster of Russian states that happens to have its own unique, cool governor. Okay? To be honest. And of course, the people, be they globalists or be they in the Beltway or whatever you want to call them, they do not want to see things like Kazakhstan becoming another part of this whole union state, or potentially, they're terrified that now Georgia is becoming uppity and it's not quite going along with the globalist plans for the whole LGBT community and all this other stuff. So, they're very, there's a lot of forces working to make sure that the CIS doesn't work. You see what I mean? So that's kind of my thoughts on it. Russia's sort of surrounded in a way by a lot of people who are in power simply because they are against Russia, or partially against Russia, or when they need to make a public speech, they're against Russia. Kazakhstan's a weird one. Kazakhstan is some days we have anti-Russian legislation like the Ukrainians did. Sometimes we don't. Who knows? We're crazy. we go to both extremes. We'll sign a trade deal one day and then try to ban your language the next day. So yeah, it's kind of a mess, man. It really is. Mo, if no questions, just tell us what's on your mind lately. Mo, that's a very strange question. Open some topics us for. What's been on my mind lately? I don't know. Like, this is very weird. This isn't the Tim Kirby Russia feels hour, you know. Um, I don't know. I've been trying to increase my level of dieting where I'm trying to avoid everything that's greasy. So I guess I've been thinking a lot about what foods. The doctor recommended that I try to avoid things that are greasy. So I guess I've been thinking about how to boil stuff. How to boil the crap out of everything and not use butter or cooking oil. Is that interesting? It's not interesting to me. It's probably not interesting to you either. So this is one of those things. People always, when they want to know about the person, who's the man behind this image? Don't, because the person behind everything is a piece of shit. So, including myself. So we're not going to do that. Do I believe Israel has nuclear weapons? It's not that I believe, it's that this has been sort of confirmed by, like the Russian media and the Chinese media, and the Iranians have said they have nuclear weapons. The United States says they do. So, I mean, a lot of major powers in their, what would that be called? Intelligence services say that they do. So, I'm going to believe that. Maybe I'm a sucker. However, maybe the actual quantity and quality could be a little bit overblown. Another question is, when were they given these nuclear missiles? Because, the real, I think a lot of the sort of high point of when the U.S. was really building up places like Israel would be during the monopolar moment, the triumphant 90s. So how old are these missiles is another question. What platform they're on, I don't know, because I am not an expert. You know who you should ask about that would be Scott Ritter, who is an expert on that kind of thing. Maybe he could actually say that what specific types of rockets do they use, what specific types of warheads, how old they are, this, that, or the other. So, yeah. But I would have to assume that they're not super fresh because Israel really doesn't produce very much, and I highly doubt that on a tiny plot of land, when they could just get everything sent from America, that they really built up some major nuclear research production facilities. I doubt that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm naive, but I don't know. But again, this is Tim Kirby Russia, not Tim Kirby Middle East. Again, we're going into the speculation realm here. We don't want to do that. Too much speculation could be bad. What's something I miss about the USA? That's easy. I just gave during an interview for a TV show called Anti-Fake, and it is I miss guns and driving. We just talked about driving. I really miss driving. I really enjoy driving, but it looks like it's not in the cards for me. I don't know when my life will, when I'll have the amount of free money and free time to go through like driving school all over again, because like I said, I basically went through it the first time and they screwed me over, to do this all over again and then go through the test, and I'm gonna have to take the test again 7 times like most other people do. So I definitely miss driving. I really enjoy it. It is fun. It is interesting. I miss driving, and of course I miss guns in the sense of just it's easy because again with this whole American Village thing and a lot of other stuff I do, my life gets kind of bureaucratic, and that's another thing about Russia. So everyone has asked me what do I not like about Russia? It's the bureaucracy. It's the kind of never-ending bureaucracy, and so there's always effing something or something related to my kids, or even something somehow related to American football, or something medical, or whatever the fuck, so like the thought of owning a gun sounds fun, but the thought of the bureaucracy of it takes all the fun away. I'd rather just stare at the trees for now. And also, it's kind of a thing where, because there's obviously no gun ranges within walking distance where I could actually really go use it. All the gun ranges are pretty much accessible by what? By car. No thought of relating to Russia? What I've been thinking about Russia? I don't know. Thoughts I've had about Russia? I don't know, man. I guess it was Putin's birthday, so like I just mentioned earlier, I really, really wish Putin would pick his successor, or maybe a pool of successors or something. That would be, yeah. So I told you it'd be a 3-hour video about driver's licenses. Well, you keep asking. Now you're talking about like the emotional aspect of not being able to drive. That's different, but yeah, but it sucks. Like I said, I got to find some way to either talk to some governor and get it through that way, or to get it through Putin, or some sort of expedited way where the people at the state auto inspection, that's what they called in the Soviet Union. I forget what the modern one is, GIBT, but I forgot what that is in English. The state auto inspection go there, so they're scared shitless of me and they just pass me. that's the real main goal. In my opinion, that would be amazing. So that's what I miss. Oh, and of course, I would say, I've always said year after year, because every fucking interview in Russia is the same, and they all involve emotional bullshit like we're dealing with right now. I hate emotions. Emotions are bad. They're not good for men. They're not good for our testosterone. But in every interview that I give, they always ask, what do you miss about America? And the one thing that's number one is my parents. But unfortunately, my father passed away, as I mentioned. So now it's my parent. So, of course, I always miss my mother a lot. But then I think when people ask, what do you miss about America, they usually are implying things. But, it was always my parents. And, about moving to Russia, that's one thing, is you kind of have to essentially sacrifice all the people that were in your life before that move. And so in some ways, I kind of sacrificed my parents for Russia. Kind of a dick move, but what can you do? My mother who could be listening to this right now. I don't have the thing on my monitor. She is welcome to move here any day of the week. And as soon as my father left this world to be with God, I told her that I invited her to move here many years ago, and that invitation is open. So, yeah. I guess then number one would be my parents. I also had some very nice friends. Another thing, because I am a little scared to travel to Europe during the rise of, let's just say, people having to pay consequences for stuff they say online, even if it's perfectly reasonable. Like, I have a really, really good friend in Hungary. He is also from Cleveland. He also moved to his ethnic homeland. Love the guy. Would love to go to Hungary to see him, but that's not in the cards. So maybe a certain group of people is what I miss. About stuff, it's the driving and all that. But honestly, like I tell people before, Moscow is, and some of the areas around it, not all, but a lot that's around it, is half America. Like, it is. It's everything that you kind of would want out of an American lifestyle, but without all the negatives. And that's why I'm here. Long story short. So. Let's maybe get into one or two more questions that are hopefully not depressing or pointlessly emotional. And remember, I know my audience is majority men. You are men. Why are you asking questions about what someone feels or misses? Or that's stupid. That's pointless. Don't do that. Be more manly. Deal with facts and information. Let's do it. Okay. Oh, but someone wants to call in. Anton wants to call in. Okay. Then Sam. Sorry I didn't see you. I'm all screwed up today. Anton, hello. Although we're doing this in
Hello,
English
Tim.
today. Yes, hello.
Hope you're doing well.
Yeah.
I'm just like to correct you about Ponzi scheme with Mavrodi and vouchers,
Uh-oh. Okay. Well,
if you
yeah,
allow
I
it.
didn't live through it, but anyways, tell our audience, how did the MMM voucher scheme work?
Vouchers wasn't MMM scheme. It was produced by Soviet government
No, dude,
to,
no. I'm not retarded. I know there was the voucher scheme where
yeah,
about how they dissolved the Soviet Union and all that. That's not connected to Mavrodi. Mavrodi had some pieces of
yes,
paper. Okay, hold on. We're going to get into
yeah,
terminology.
Mavriky.
Stop. Mavrodi gave people for sale pieces of paper that maybe behaved, I called it a voucher, maybe it behaved like a stock or some sort of an investment or some sort of maybe cryptocurrency or some shit, we'd call it today. And he sold that to people. I know about how they used vouchers as part of how they dissolved the Soviet Union. The vouchers proved to be useless to the average person, and they gave them away, and certain people kind of hoarded them, and that's how, in a lot of ways, the wealth of the Soviet Union was stolen from the average person. That I get.
Yeah, and it called Mavriki,
Uh-huh.
like his first name.
Yeah.
Mavrodi Mavriki.
Yeah.
And vouchers, different thing. Yeah, it was like just imagine currency with no existence, and that's all.
So it was a cryptocurrency that was like a physical cryptocurrency. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, something like this.
All right. See. All right. Have a good one, man. Thanks for calling in. All right. Let's talk to Sam. Hello, Sam.
Hey, how are you, Tim?
What's up, man?
Hey, so if I came to Moscow, if I immigrated there, what's the fastest way to meet beautiful women? Nice, ready to date, ready to marry women. Would it be like a dating website?
VK.com. You create an account on VK. There's a thing, I don't know what it's called in English. It's probably called dating, I would assume. But in Russian, it's called Znakomstva. VK Znakomstva. It is basically like Russian's Tinder, but it is linked to your VK sort of profile, kind of. And it is full of lots of random women, and VK is an insanely popular service here in Russia. It is a super popular social network, and you should be, in theory, able to find someone via that site. In the 21st century,
now,
online dating, baby.
Are the Russian women kind of like the American women, a little bit confused? Like the smarter they are, the more delayed their pairing up with someone else tends to be.
Well, this is one of these topics where this would actually be a good topic for an entire live stream about this. Maybe that'll be one. Hold on, let me put this on the saved messages folder. Hold on, topic.
Sure.
Dating to get married in Russia. Okay, that sounds pretty good. But if we're going to go long story short, because you called in, which is very nice of you. Also nice of you, Anton, for calling in. Very nice of you as well. Is that, it's if they're from Moscow, they're kind of like the way American women are, where someone told them they need to have a career, or if because they're Moskvichki, they already have an apartment, and so they don't really need you to buy them an apartment or a place to live. They don't need your resources, and so they do get that sort of Western woman outlook on everything. So
gross.
Yeah, it's more people from outside of Moscow who are a little bit more communal or see the value in men, or stuff like that.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, because I thought I found the right one here, and she flipped out. So just
in what do you mean flipped out?
Well, she left me in May. My wife left me in May.
And she was Russian.
Yep, she was. And we're building a house, and she just lost her patience. But, her mother was divorced 3 times, and everyone in her extended family was divorced. They just have this really broken culture.
Yeah, well, it starts somewhere. Well, also you have to remember Russians are very pessimistic, so they don't really worry too much about getting divorced. It's kind of a lot of people are very fatalistic here and pessimistic, so they're like, whatever. But
so
regardless of that, all I can say is again, buy if you're gonna buy real estate, buy it before you get married, because then she can't touch it after the divorce. That's the way the laws work here. That's your number one thing you need to do. And number 2 is oh my gosh, did a train hit your house?
Yeah, the train runs right by.
Okay, well, anyways,
dude,
one thing is that I would also give is then we'll talk about this. I guess we'll do a whole live stream. Is in the future is you need to be more harsh and more emotional. So unfortunately, like with Russian women, from what I've seen, is they would prefer men to be, like that stereotype of how an Italian couple is. Like they throw dinner plates at each other,
Yeah.
but they love you. That's really the way
That's how we were already.
Oh,
That's how we were. But she's American Russian. I don't know if that makes a difference.
yeah, it
raised
probably
in
does.
America.
But that's I think the ideal Russian relationship there, because people here who I've seen who have been here, who are, let's put it this way, where they seem like they're in it for the long haul. Either half of them
Yeah.
are just like, how do I put this? They're so calm, they're barely alive, that kind of person.
Yeah.
And the other half are like that, where they're like, how fucking dare you? You went and you were drinking for 10 days and you squandered all our money, and then they hit each other and break dishes and all. Like, that's the other half. So, I don't know. I think that might be the kind of key to the relationship here is you have to prove that you're alpha giga Chad by doing things that are just retarded.
Well,
I don't know.
I think
man.
I had that checked off, I guess, but it's just the problem is she never met her father. Her mother had her with a married man in St. Petersburg back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And the problem with women who haven't had a father in their life is like the first hard conversation you have to have with them since they're over 18. Now that's verbal abuse. It doesn't matter how nice you're trying to be to explain. You're going against their will. So now you're everything.
Well, thankfully, for the most part, that doesn't exist here. I mean, all these sort of, we'll call them like intellectual concepts that revolve around kind of like modern psychology have infested Russia through Moscow, but they don't exist in a legal sense. You know what I mean? Like, whereas if you really unload verbally on someone, you just unload on them. Technically, I think there's a fine if you swear at someone. It's like 1,000 rubles or something for swearing at someone in public anyways. But at home, it doesn't count. You're not going to get... The cops aren't going to come in there and tase you because you really ripped into your wife verbally. You know what I mean? So, it's a sort of different dynamic.
Well, the main thing I'd be looking for is a good Orthodox pious woman, if they exist, someone that sees what the world is heading towards and wants to go the other direction. I'm not looking for.
See, what you're actually saying Sam, unfortunately, is that you want a man that has a vagina, because that is a very extremely male way of looking at the world. I know we dream of this, but this idea of we're going to be together and we're going to fight to achieve this, that is the extremely macho way of looking at the world.
Yeah,
you kind of have to be on your destiny, and this person is going to be like, oh, this guy's kind of cool, he does interesting stuff, and then she's going to want to like link up to your destiny. She's not going to want to sit there and fight for shit with you.
Yeah,
unless
that's true.
Maybe at some point down the road, if you've already have like multiple children with her, and she sees that you're good, you're going to be together forever, then maybe she might kind of switch over to that mode. But like, if you're
and I think that was the difficulty I had here is I built a house from scratch in farming and ranching here, and it was just way too much for her. It was just pioneer women in 2024 have other options.
But if you think about it this way, in Russia, if you meet some woman from like not Moscow, right? Well, for her, as long as you can keep the idea fresh in her mind that you built a house for her with your own hands, she's going to really appreciate that. But you have to keep the idea fresh. You have to kind of remind her that, maybe I finished this house 10 years ago, but your ass wouldn't have shit without me and won't have shit. You got me? Unfortunately, dude, like one of the problems is everything that I was sort of, taught as a kid, this whole, like even a lot of people I know say that like when the Russians go to America, it's they don't call it a disease, but it is a mental disease of be nice. Everything is be nice. And even with the people you love in Russia, you really can't be nice or you're never going to get anywhere. It's just not going to work. That's not the way society works. It's not what people value. And it isn't. And again, that's why I tell people Russia is sort of an aggression-based society. And I think that even works in relationships. So like I said, the happiest women I've seen with their guys, where they are still married to this guy, and this guy could be the schlubbiest, dumbest, scummiest guy, but they love him is because he acts like a complete dick all the time. You know?
Uh
So what can I say? The proof is in the pudding.
huh.
Like
I was born in the wrong country.
yeah. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Even like one guy I knew from a lot of years ago. He just made some kind of like this is a perfect example. I haven't talked to this guy in like 5 years. I used to work with him,
Mhm.
and he is the true like Russian scoof. If you've ever seen the meme of like this like schlubby guy who sits at home and doesn't really do a whole hell of a lot, but
Yeah.
at one point in his life he was successful. He got a luxury apartment. And a wife and the kids and all that. So at some point in his life, he had the money to buy the luxury apartment, and now he has nothing. But anyways,
Mhm.
you know, I post a photo of myself. He was just like, "Well, looks like you're getting fat," and you know, that's the kind of guy that a lot of women like. You know, who's gonna be that just massive dick, whose wife is gonna come in and just be like, "Yeah, well, honey, looks like you're getting kind of fat there, aren't you?" And then fight, argue. Someone cries, drama, circle repeats. And though him and his wife, they're still together. They've had a bunch of kids,
Yeah.
and I think he's like 55 or something. So they're very unlikely to get divorced. So look about this as like a successful case study of like
Yeah.
who stays together and who gets divorced. One thing, man, don't rummage
Yeah.
while we're talking. No rummaging. It's not nice.
Okay, Roger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess is that basically would that be a byproduct of a highly well, you say that Russia has a lot of bureaucracy, but at the same time, it seems like it has small government. Would it have? Would that be a true statement?
Bureaucracy, how it connects to relationships? What? I don't understand.
No, I'm saying because there's less enforcement of rules, from what I
Yeah.
remember you saying. Like
Oh yeah.
like the police don't want to be bothered and all this stuff. So there's lots of bureaucracy, but there's also small government or low enforcement of rules, and so it allows the masculine and feminine qualities to just kind of find their natural equilibrium instead
Yeah.
of being, like HR enforcement of feminine values in the workplace, shit like that.
Well,
Say that's true.
yeah. Like again, like I'll put it this way. Here's the difference. People are arguing, their neighbors hear it. Okay? So, someone calls in the police don't do anything. If the police heard something and and the neighbors go, "I think this woman is being murdered," that's what they'll react to. You know?
Okay.
But then also if the neighbors just say, "We
Gotcha.
think this person was being murdered," and it's obvious that wasn't the case, the police they're not going to do anything, but they're going to be like, "Come on, guy. Why'd you call us?" So anyways, a certain special person wants to talk to me. Hello there. Hello. This would be Karen. Hello. No? Okay. Well, anyways, I think that must have been just an accidental hand raised there. Anyways, Anne wants to talk.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe we can talk next time about a couple of things, the media, and also I would really like to discuss the Russophobia, the causes and how to fix it. I
think we've kind of gone over that in the past, but I really like your one about how do we fix the media. That we can do for sure. I'll even put like I can put a special magical star next to it in my own little save file here. I didn't know that was a function. So it has the magic star, and we will do that. So it's like maybe one of the next live streams. So
yeah, and just a word to Sam. Oh, I feel so badly, but I'll ask you both. I mean, and I'll ask you, Tim. Is there such a thing as marital counselors in Russia? I mean, do they have people who have marital problems going to go and talk to somebody that's got a little training and
here's the first thing, Anne, is again, I'm very skeptical of these marriage counselors because psychology is essentially an interpretation of mental health that comes from the state. And if we remember, there are things happening now in America, certain popular phenomena that are not good to mention on YouTube. And just a couple generations ago, these things were considered forms of insanity or some sort of maybe perhaps uh, disorder, personality disorder, or an abnormality. And now they're perfectly acceptable. So politics plays a huge role in psychology. All right. So to be honest, and if you look at the way the political climate is towards marriage and family, your average marriage counselor, I don't think that they're being pumped full of good advice. And one of the other questions is, do they have a successful marriage? And so I don't think he's listening right now because he wakes up real early. But if you want to talk to someone who would be a really good marriage counselor, it would be Father Joseph Gleason, my good friend there, the priest, because he has a wife and however many, 8 or 10 kids or whatever he's up to now. And they have a successful marriage. So you really have to kind of talk to someone with a successful marriage. And most people, this isn't me, this would be the late, great Kevin Samuels, would say that, who are all of these life coaches and marriage counselors and psychologists? Who exactly are these? Who are these people? As Jerry Seinfeld would say. And they tend to be a lot of liberal, white, single women.
Yep.
And they
Yep.
don't know how it is. And I know you are a woman, so it's a little bit different. But one thing that is a good point is that it's very hard to understand the plight of the other gender. And when you go into like a marriage counseling session, and you're greeted by white liberal woman who might be old, single, and bitter, you're gonna have 2 chicks attacking you. That's gonna. And so in Russia, one of the problems is, and I've talked to many psychologists here, is that some people believe that really there is no psychology in Russia as of present. Because it's either infested Western psychology where essentially someone kind of programmed Russian people to just tell others, well, do what feels good for you. Do what feels good for you. That's psychology here. So it's essentially be liberal and you'll be happy. That's what it is. Because ultimately, modern day liberalism is do what's good for me. Don't think about anyone else. I'm a liberal. There you go. So that's kind of the political side of it. I have talked to some more religious psychologists, and they do believe that psychology has some value, but they're kind of in the minority. And I've talked to people who've studied psychology in the universities. They weren't particularly happy with it. So yeah, I don't think that it's a good good situation. What I really think we should do is real quick is in education, we teach people all sorts of stuff that they might not need. But it would be really good if we talked about evolutionary psychology, which is essentially a fancy term for the background of why men and women act the way they do, where gender behavior comes from. It'd be really good if we told that to children in advance, and then I think there'd be a lot more disappointment and problems when people get married. And
yeah, I agree with you. Most things are off the rails. That's why hopefully one has good parents. But let me ask you, can people like Sam, can you call into Russia? Can he call Father Gleason? Can you call on the phone or is that as dangerous as traveling?
No, we're using Telegram right now. I don't know if Father Gleason would be able to. Well, he'd probably have to charge money because the guy has a lot of mouths to feed, and this would probably be a paid service in a way. But there are a lot of Eastern Orthodox English-speaking priests, even ones in the United States itself, who, they're all married and they all have kids, and divorce is very frowned on within the church. It happens, but it's definitely frowned on. So,
but are calls easy to make, or is that heading into dangerous territory? Just a phone call.
Well, no, because you wouldn't be making a phone call. You'd be making a telegram call because the cost of a phone call would be titanic, whereas telegram costs nothing. So I don't know. I would say not a lot. You're kind of participating in a phone call that goes to Russia right now.
Okay.
All right. Just a group one.
Anyway, good luck.
All right. Thank you very much. That was a very interesting question there about the couples counseling. But anyways, yeah. Kind of a sticky subject. So I would say the whole psychology universe in Russia is not a very happy place. One thing I did enjoy is we had a male psychologist who was with us on the radio, Dr. Dobin, and he was tons of fun. So, and he believes deep in his heart that I have a fairly severe personality disorder. Well, after this video is over, try to guess which one it is. The list isn't very long. I'm sure you can figure it out if you put two and two together. But anyways, so yeah, I would say that the status of psychology here is not very good. But again, that's because it is very, very influenced by politics. So, and by people who don't actually have families. But again, like I said, I just want to guess one last point is, I think everyone's life would be better if we have all these years of kids being at school. And I know there's things where, we can teach, like just today I talked to, my daughter had to answer a question of, like the where Bangladesh is, like that region. It was like, which is the largest type of primate besides humans in the like Bangladesh area. It's like that we have to discuss and do as part of homework, but we can't, especially what I would say is, again, because I think of the world from a male perspective. What I think we should really especially tell teenage girls is that men are, more than anything, out of women want sex. And we lie to women about that. Society lies to women about that. Women also lie to themselves about that for some reason. They can't handle it. But like stuff like that, like just some sort of basic truths about, again, evolutionary psychology. Men are really, really motivated by sex. And that sounds bad. But then if you think about it, in a lot of ways, men are willing to do an awful lot of very good things for society to get sex. So these are some things we should probably tell young people, but we don't. And then we wonder why they get divorced. So there you go. We have all the information we need, and yet we do nothing. So anyways, someone had their hand raised. Did you want to raise your hand back up, or did you accidentally raise your hand and you stopped, or what? Any questions? Any questions? See, sorry I missed this. I'm in the middle of studying for now. I start school this week. Well, good for you. I study every day with my Russian language teacher on the 800 questions. That's the spirit. So good. Hopefully, Daniel, you signed up for Smart Russian, but if you didn't, that's okay. There you go. Arrange 1 hour stream on the topic of successful marriage in Russia with a priest. I don't know. Well, the problem is that you can only talk about things you've actually achieved. So if we're talking about talking about really successful marriage, maybe I'm a failure. I can't talk about how people can understand gender dynamics better, because once you really understand the way that men function and their motivations, and the way that women function, their motivations, the whole picture of how human beings work seems to work better, and I think that there would be much less divorce. In fact, I've been invited to speak at some sort of conference, which is going to be filled with all women. And so I'll tell you this here because it'll be in Russian. And the one thing I want to tell them is that it's basically a little intellectual game. I'm like, okay, this is where we're going to end. Well, anger, is that a disorder? I hope you're being sarcastic. Anger is not a personality disorder. Personality disorders are the things you hear about, like narcissistic personality disorder. That would be bipolar is a personality disorder. Schizophrenia is a personality disorder. There's a long list of them. It's on that list, in his opinion. Anyways, what I'm going to tell these people, these women, is it's a little intellectual game, because I want to when I do public speeches in Russia, I always like to bust balls, because Russians really expect foreign people to say certain expected things, so it makes it very easy to kind of come at them from a different angle and really blow their minds. And what I'm going to say is, I'm going to say, okay, you were given a mission by God, and you're sure, so there's no well, I'm not sure God did this, or I can't do it. No, God ordered it, and you're sure that it comes directly from God, and you have to do it. Okay, this mission. You have to pick out the qualities of a husband, and you have to marry this guy. But you don't really find him attractive, and you'll never love him. God will make sure that you'll never love him, and you'll never really find him that physically attractive. Maybe a little bit, but not a lot. Okay, and you'll definitely never love him ever. However, God is going to let you, pick out these characteristics of what kind of guy this would want. And I think when you sort of take that out of it, and so there's no love, there's no like passion or anything. What kind of man do you want? So I guess she's probably gonna say, I don't know. He has a decent job and he's pretty reliable and this, that, and the other. And the real truth about it is that that's pretty much the real marriage that you can attain. Looks like that. The whole part about do we love each other or emotions and all that shit is kind of up to you and in your subconscious. But what you can do is you can at least create that functional team unit. You can do that, but you really might not want to put so much emotion into it, because most women usually tend to lead with their emotions and feelings, and so they generally don't pick men who are good for that like long-term structural kind of relationship, which is what worked in the past. So read Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. I did 20 years ago. So that is one of the rare books I have read. You are wise, Tim. Someone speaks the truth. Yes, Antonios. To be honest, I probably actually should talk about like this whole relationship stuff as a channel rather than like politics and all that. But c'est la vie. No one is going to give me donations to talk about relationships. So I don't think so, because I go where the donations go, and I only get donations from people when I talk about like the Ukraine war and politics and all that stuff. If people were to like, if someone were to say, Tim, we're going to pay you X amount of money to do a show about relationships, I'd do it. But yeah, there's a few more messages being typed. Thank you for saying I'm wise. That's something I work on. Emotions and all that shit. Yeah, Mo, quote Tim Kirby, emotion. You know, because it isn't, man. Like, think about it, especially for some of us who are listening who are older. Like, I think that people need to find, as a certain very special person in my life even said, that this whole like happiness stuff is for Hollywood, but contentment is something you can find. So again, so when I talk about, I'm going to tell these women about like they should think about what a marriage would look like without love. I mean like the whole passionate, crazy Hollywood love. And there's contentment is something that I think people sort of can't find. But yeah. But emotions, even just today, I shared that video. Didn't I just share a video on this channel about stuff? It was a priest. What was he saying? Why modern man has feminine thinking. A lot of feminine thinking going around. Don't worry about this feelings and shit. Get that shit the fuck out of there. Out. No feelings. Feelings are a waste of time. Because if you want to talk about, like, what are you thinking, Tim? What are you feeling and all this? Don't worry about it. Massive waste of time. Waste of your energy. Less feelings, more doing. Do more stuff, get more stuff done, you'll feel better. You think about what your problems are, find the solution, and guess what? Then all the pain or sadness or whatever, you find the solution, and then it goes. If it's a problem that has no solution, as in, you're sad that you have one leg, you'll never get another leg, even with a nice prosthesis, you still don't have your leg, then you just kind of have to choose to just say fuck it and get over it. In fact, I was just talking to a person who claims to be an Orthodox Christian psychologist, and is very passionate about their faith, but is very passionate about psychology as well. That was one of the things that she said. One of your primary things that you have to do is, with that sort of situation, someone has one leg and they're sad about it, is just do a lot of mental exercises to just kind of say F it and just accept it. And there you go. So that's also, again, a very different methodology, because, it'd be like, you have to deal with your trauma. You have to like embrace your trauma, and it's okay. You could feel sad as you want for as long as you want. No, you can't. Especially if you ever want to have sex with a woman again, because you know what is unattractive to women? Men who are mopey. If you want to be a failure with women, unless you're like dark and dramatic and mopey, like they're a goth girl and they really want a goth guy, but that's cool mopey. Be like mopey, like, oh, I don't know what I want in life. I don't know. I don't think I'll ever be able to succeed. Well, that is a path to loneliness right there. So anyways, guys, this is now going in a vicious circle. I'm leaving. Goodbye. Bye-bye.